Good morning, Dan and Amy. There are a lot of spirited exchanges between Peter Strzok and members of House Republicans in particular. Most of the spirited exchanges from Democrats are Gerald Nadler and others to Bob Goodlatte, the House Judiciary Committee chairman, crying about the questioning or attacking, if you will, of Strzok at the hands of reps like Jordan and Gowdy and Louis Gohmert, who really got it off to a rollicking start.
It's a personal attack. Okay, next gen, turn it on.
To FBI agents around the country. You've embarrassed them. You've embarrassed yourself. And I can't help but wonder when I see you looking there with a little smirk, how many times did you look so innocent into your wife's eyes and lie to her about Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, this is outrageous.
Mr. Chairman,
Shame.
Please,
Have you Mr. Chairman, this is intolerable
Harassment.
Intolerable. You need your medication.
God, where's your decency?
And the best part is, you need your medication.
I mean, nice effort to do a little Joseph Welch to Senator McCarthy, Joe McCarthy. Have you no decency, sir? Except he did have the affair.
He did, and I wonder
and
if
he's a communist.
And stop. I wonder if his wife was watching. Honey, I'm home. How do you think that went? Hey, how was your day? Well, it was a little rough. 10 hours at work.
Yeah, they're still working it out. I don't know if
I'm pulling for those two.
The 10-hour hearing is probably going to involve more post-hearing counseling sessions, I would suspect. For more on this topic and others, including the president abroad, we're pleased to be joined by Ron Kessler, New York Times bestselling author of books on the Secret Service, FBI, and CIA, and his latest, The Trump White House, Changing the Rules of the Game. Ron Kessler, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Always good to be with you.
So how do you think that Strzok testimony went?
It was sickening, for someone like me who's covered the FBI going back to J. Edgar Hoover. I've written 3 books on the FBI. I've interviewed literally thousands of FBI agents who would never, express these outrageous political opinions, regardless of whether they're personal or public. It was sickening. It was outrageous to see Strzok smirk constantly, seemed to be enjoying himself, seemed to be laughing at the members. Really, never actually apologized. He said he regretted these comments, but never actually apologized. Never showed any remorse. And yet he was the lead agent on the Hillary and the other investigation, the Russian investigation. At the same time, the hearing didn't produce any more evidence that his bias, which he kept denying that he was even biased, affected the investigation. The Inspector General did say that it's possible that his political beliefs resulted in the delay to announce the Wiener work on the Wiener laptop.
But the point of the hearing in public was not to get any new information. That was never going to be forthcoming. The point of it was to show the American public what a D-bag this guy is, and for them to further question the legitimacy of the Mueller probe, of the FBI senior leadership, of all of it, right?
Yeah, and of course the Democrats kept veering into policy issues involving Trump, including NATO. It's remarkable to me that on the one hand, Trump is criticized for supposedly sucking up to Putin, but then and undercutting NATO. But at the same time, what is Trump actually doing? He actually is urging NATO to increase defense spending, which is to defend against Putin. He actually imposed severe sanctions on Putin, and yet they don't seem to understand the discrepancy between what they're claiming, which is that Trump is some kind of puppet for Putin.
Well, speaking of that, on Monday the two will meet in Helsinki, Finland. What do you think each hopes to get out of their meeting?
Trump, as I say in my book, the Trump White House changing the rules of the game, is above all a deal maker. He uses the carrot and the stick. So when he says something positive about Putin or about the North Korean leader, it's part of the strategy. And at the same time, he uses the stick. He imposes sanctions. He threatens the North Korean leader with annihilation. And that's the way CEOs work. You know, if you're going to be the CEO of a company, you're going to try to flatter the person you're trying to court. And yet people don't seem to understand that. But the results are clear. You know, whether it's the economy, the unprecedented low unemployment rate, unprecedented low black unemployment rate, almost totally getting rid of ISIS. Just each one of those remarkable achievements for any president.
So the other day in Brussels, he chided Germany for their deal with Russia to essentially strike an energy deal with Russia, an oil and natural gas pipeline, and as you mentioned about calling on NATO allies to increase their contributions to the common defense. Then yesterday he sort of went after Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, who's in trouble politically for offering weak tea on Brexit, suggesting that if she continues kind of down this middling path, that any trade deal between the U.S. and the U.K. is off. We'll just make a deal with the EU. That would make more sense. Do you say is Trump somebody from your personal interactions with him where when he senses weakness from sometime allies, sometime adversaries, he is going to exploit that weakness, try and leverage that weakness for his advantage?
Yeah, to some degree, but more importantly, he's going to amass strength on his side in order to get what he wants, and what he wants is common sense. Of course, increase defense spending by NATO countries. Of course, Germany is going to be vulnerable to Russia by agreeing to a pipeline to supply 70% of its fuel energy from Russia. If you look at each one of Trump's goals, they're perfectly reasonable, and he will make outrageous comments to get attention. He will beat up on various individuals, but he gets what he wants. I mean, really, in the end, he almost always wins.
Do you get the sense, though, that even some of the outlandish comments he makes and the posturing and so forth, that he knows where the lines are, the lines that shall not be crossed? So thinking about Putin on Monday, he can't go there and accept his annexation of Crimea. He can't go there and indulge Putin's revanchism. Does he know that line exists that shouldn't be crossed?
He does, but he doesn't see any point to sitting there and denouncing Putin when he wants something out of Putin. What is the point? He will take action. He imposes sanctions, as I mentioned, including against the inner circle of Putin's regime. He by increasing U.S. oil production and drilling, he is undercutting Russia because Russia depends on selling its oil for its economy. So that's the way he operates. He is strategic. He's not a fool. He's not impulsive. If you look at how he went about deciding on the new Supreme Court nominee, it was very, very deliberative, and went on for some time. He will make a decision, but then in an important decision like that, he'll sort of double check with a lot of people. So he called various friends that I listed in the book. He has about 12 billionaire friends that he usually calls, and he'll even ask anybody, a Secret Service agent, a chambermaid, what do you think? Because he believes in the common sense of the working man.
That's how you'd make all your decisions. You consult with your team of 12 billionaires, Amy.
Right, exactly. No, but honestly, he really, even on the appointment of a Supreme Court justice nominee, he would consult a FBI agent and ask them what they think?
Yeah, he would. Absolutely. I remember, I've known Trump for 2 decades, and we see him at Mar-a-Lago, and I remember last New Year's Eve. And by the way, I had the only interview that he says he's given for a book, or will give for a book as president. It just so happened that there was some issue going on with the settlements in Israel, and he asked me what do I think. Well, I don't know a thing about the Middle East, honestly. I know as much about the Middle East as he knows about the Talmud, but he asked me, what do you think? And I gave my opinion. So I'm not a chambermaid, but absolutely he will do that. My home contractor says to me, I don't care what Trump says, I just care about what he does. And that's the sort of common sense, working class perspective that values results and doesn't really care about whether Trump creates a big controversy, but with his words.
He is Ron Kessler, New York Times bestselling author of books on the Secret Service, FBI, that he mentioned, and the CIA, and his latest that you want to pick up, as you mentioned, Exclusive Access to the President, the Trump White House, Changing the Rules of the Game. Ron, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.